hello everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you. That's right. Everyone's a fan of something, and we have got something for every single fan, including those of you who are enthusiasts of combat robotics. And, of course, it is that time of the week again. It is Wednesday, hump day, and we are going to talk some Battlebots. That's right. Robot fighting time right here on the undisputed champion of Robotics podcast, and that is the Fan Show. And tonight we have another special episode, another special guest, same great content. And I gotta tell you, what a week it was in the world of Battlebots, as we had episode number 2, and that fight card did not disappoint. Like I said, I went there. I was there for the tapings for the second half of the season. All anybody could talk about was how great the fights were up until that point, the postseason, the championship. All of that was so much more and bigger and better and beyond, like to infinity and beyond. We got Toy Story number 4 coming out this weekend for those of you that are getting your childhood heartstrings tugged at with all the different trailers of Buzz and Woody. But anyway, back on topic. I digress. Cannot get distracted because it was another great episode. This whole season will be just like what you've seen the last 2 episodes, and then some. So what we had to start off was Wanhoo versus Captain Shredderator. Can't have BattleBot season without some early controversy, and some are saying that it's rigged because Captain Shredderator was dominating the fight, and then its controls simply ceased to function. And as we all know, if we are avid fans of BattleBots, like I'm sure most of you are, that can happen. It happens, right? As they say, shh, it happens. It does. And even Captain Shredderator, they were just like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what happened. We lost motor functions, and you got to see some kind of movement out there, John Remar. Then we also had Axe Backwards and Mammoth. Mammoth made its debut, and what a convincing win it was. And they did not disappoint. Biggest BattleBot you've ever seen in your life, I swear. We also had Witch Doctor get its first win of the season over Shatter. That was a great fight. Bombshell versus Duck. This one, oh man, the fans have wanted it since the end of last season. Justice for Duck, as they say. And Duck went in there and took no prisoners. Texas Twister and Black Dragon, another great fight. Texas Twister gets one in the win column. And Son of Waiachi over Huge. So Huge will go back to the drawing board, see what they can do to adjust for the remainder of the regular season. And your main event, one fight that we've all been waiting for since how well both teams did last season. And of course, the 2 of the best drivers in all of combat robotics, and that was Minotaur versus Whiplash. Whiplash took this one. It was a judge's decision. So Minotaur, like last year, starting out 0-1. We'll see if they can make it back to the finals. But man, these fights have been fantastic. And tonight's special episode, I will welcome one of the captains and drivers from that fight card. He is Ricky Willems of the Mighty Mammoth. Yes, the biggest bot in the arena, and honestly, he's pretty charismatic. He's quite the character. Was very fun to talk to in our interview segment that you guys will listen to here in a few minutes. But I think the future is very bright for Team Mammoth, especially Ricky Mad Max Willems, as I call him. I don't know how many other people are going to end up calling him Mad Max, but there's a reason why, and it's because of that contraption that's on his arm. It's long story short, a 3D printed cast that has an LED light that says BattleBots on it. And then he wore this jacket. He had this very Mad Max look to him when I first met him, and that's what I called him while I was down there for the taping. So we will hear from him, but the fight card for the next week has not been released yet. However, it is Wednesday, so that means that those of you that watch on the Science Channel, I apologize for those of you that haven't seen it or seen the results yet. Spoiler alert, my bad. But the bonus content on the Science Channel will be Kronos versus Gigabyte, and that is tonight on the Science Channel. Episode 3 will be this Friday on the Discovery Channel, same time, same place. So download, subscribe, whatever you do to enjoy your BattleBots through the Discovery Channel or the Discovery app, because episode 3 will be just as good as the first 2. It's only going to get better, folks, and that you have my Fan Show official word on, because it's not official unless it's Fan Show official, and we are officially out of things to talk about in this opening segment. But again, congratulations to the winners of episode 2, Whiplash, Son of Wyachi, Texas Twister, Duck, Witch Doctor, Mammoth, and Juan who starting out this season 1-0 for those folks. And we will see what the rest of the season has in store. Will momentum shift? Will there be a new top dog that everybody's buzzing about as we get further along into the season? And will there be a sleeper pick that maybe didn't do so well out the gate that's going to mount the ultimate comeback? You're just going to have to tune in each week and see as BattleBots Season 4 unfolds. And yeah, I think it's fantastic. Or is it Season 5? Is this Season 5? I lose track. This is number 2 on Discovery. And I believe overall it is, in fact, Season 4. Yes, because we wanted Season 3. We got Season 3 last year. Now we want Season 5 already as we play out Season 4. So without further ado or any more delay, enjoy my conversation with the man behind Mammoth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me at this time for our next edition of our Robotics Division Special as we talk all things BattleBots is the man behind the mighty Mammoth, and that is Ricky Willems. Welcome. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
I gotta say, when I was there for the tapings, there was a lot of buzz about you guys, not just because of your bot, which is gargantuan. I mean, that thing, as Kenny Florian described, he said, it doesn't even fit into the blue box. And it's just such a massive bot out there. But really, it was you as a team captain, your guys as a team, and just you're willing to go into any fight and compete. I mean, what we saw was just a glimpse of that. So looking back now, after everything that happened, and seeing Fight 1 coming out 1-0 over Axe Backwards, like, how are your emotions? Have they changed any since actually being there? And what's it like to watch yourself and your team go out there and compete?
Well, first off, watching it was that moment that really cemented, like, yes, this all actually happened. It's not some weird, Uber fan fantasy dream or return to my childhood desire to compete. It all actually happened and it all went down. So that was awesome in and of itself. I think in retrospect, I was glad that we started off the way that we did. I came in there and the BattleBots producers came up and said, who do you want to fight? And I immediately gave all of the big, terrible, scary names in BattleBots. I immediately want to go for all of the heavy hitters, which I knew they wouldn't oblige, at least not in the beginning.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was a little grumbly. I was like, Rassam, I want to take one. It's like, okay, no, you gotta work your way up. I'm lucky enough to have made it there. The producers that liked us, egged them on enough to let me in the gates. I should roll with the punches and take the opponents that I'm given. And that's not to say Axe Backwards isn't in a great robot and a great opponent, but like I said, we were shooting for the moon right off the bat.
Showing no fear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to say, it is interesting. You made a comment there that a lot of people may not be aware of, and that is, the producers and the crew, they will ask you who you want to fight, and you can give them a bunch of names, but it's so, and I'm trying to think of what the right term is, because it's not necessarily odd, but it's very unique the way that it works with BattleBots, because it's not something where you don't want to fight the biggest guy in the playground right away, where you kind of want to maybe work up to that. But there are guys that will go into this just like you, first time with BattleBots, and they'll start calling out the big heavy hitters like the Tombstones, like the Minotaurs. But it's almost like you have to earn that opportunity to go against the big bullies in the playground. You don't just get thrown to the wolves. And I think that's probably, one, a great way to do it, but two, probably out of respect for a lot of the veteran competitors and to make sure that you guys don't get in, I guess, maybe over your heads. But I thought your guys' outing against Act Backwards probably couldn't have gone any better than the way that it did.
Yeah, frankly, it stunned us how quick it was over. We went in very confident that we would win, but we did not think, spoiler alert, guys, but I didn't think we were going to be able to launch them over that sidewall the way we did. I thought we would have to take opponents to the corners to be able to ring them out with that kind of ease. But turns out, nope, any wall of the arena is a valid way for Mammoth to take someone down.
Yeah, and you guys, they mentioned before that if all things go right, that your bot could flip over a small car. Like, what kind of small car are we talking about? Like a Geo Metro, or like, you know, a Volkswagen Bug, or just what? Give us some relevance here as far as perspective goes.
Right. So let me think back to my math when I did this. When I said we could flip a small car, to flip it, you need to lift roughly half the weight of that car up. It starts off as less because you're just kind of tipping it, and eventually you get to about half the weight. With our lowest gearing, we can lift about 1,200 pounds. We don't compete with that gearing, but we can put it on for spectacles purpose. Yeah, I had in mind the car that I told them that I wanted was bring me a 91 Mazda Miata, and we will flip it for you.
That's awesome.
And apparently that ruffled some feathers. There's some Miata lovers out there who don't want one wasted. But yeah, if you want to bring a Geo Metro, I think they clock in around the similar weight, at least if you take the seats out. There were some old Fiat brands that people were especially excited. I'm not really sure what the fan favorite option would be, but I think if the car is less than about 2,500 pounds, we ought to be able to do it.
I would love to see you guys flip a Geo Metro. I just think that would be fun because so many of us in my high school days were forced to drive one of those things. Now, fortunately, I was not one of those unfortunate souls, but there were plenty of us that because parents are like, your first car is going to suck, so here's a Geo Metro, I think they would be more than happy to see one of those get flipped by Mammoth.
You know what? Ask and you shall receive. We happen to be next to a auto wrecker in the Baltimore hackerspace that we do some of the Mammoth work out of, so we can take a look over there and see what they might be willing to get rid of.
What you guys are like as far as, you know, when they give you some perspective as far as the power of your bot and they say, yeah, this could flip a small car. I've been watching a lot of the Grand Tour lately, and they did their battleship with cars, where they were dropping different cars on like motorhomes were your big carriers, and then you had like I think Mini Coopers were your little destroyers. So I feel like you should give those guys a call and say, hey, if you want something special, I'll bring my Battlebot over and I will flip a different car for you guys. And I think it would be a great segment for them on their tour.
That sounds fantastic. I would love to be on the Grand Tour. One of the cool things with Battlebots is you get plugged into all these. It's the content creator, I believe, is the vernacular anymore. You get plugged into all the YouTube stars and some of the TV stars if you're lucky.
Yep.
We were talking to Demolition Rants recently about sending them some of our Mammoth parts or a Mammoth to have them shoot at it for a while. We'd love to get plugged into more people who want to do stupid stuff with a crazy robot.
Now, for you guys, since episode 1 obviously has come and gone, you've had that moment to sit and sort of marinate on it, and your emotions maybe have resurfaced since that fight as far as what you were feeling there. But, you know, there's a lot of you guys that we've seen. This is their first time competing in Battlebots, and it's some of them go in with the aspiration of being crowned champion their first go around, which I'm not saying that's a far-fetched dream or anything like that, but it seemed like for you you guys, you were just happy to be there and be part of it. Did that change after your first win?
Let's see. I think we stayed pretty consistent with our goals. We tried to stay level-headed, and that was one of my important roles as captain, was to kind of give that that charge to the troops, if you will. That our goal was to make it past that first 4 fights. We really wanted to get into the Sweet 16 and prove that it was a competitive robot with a real chance at making it farther than anyone would expect. None of us were sitting around thinking and pinning our hopes on making it all the way, especially because we're a first-year team. I think that might be the difference from a lot of people's thinking, is the reason we didn't set our sights all the way up to winning the giant nut was not because we've got a ridiculous robot design, but because we realize we're inexperienced. We know we're going to need to come back and make modifications for next year. And we wanted to keep that in mind and still be able to say that we achieved our goals, thoroughly enjoyed ourselves, which, by the way, it was amazing. So check plus to everyone there. So I think that's why we set the goals the way we did. And I don't think that changed.
Yeah, and good goals to have. I mean, I think obviously you guys being at 1-0 right now, nothing's really unrealistic for you, but you want to make sure that, don't get ahead of yourselves. There's a lot of rites of passage, if you will, when it comes to Battlebots, as you learned. But you can go and call out every big name in the pit, but they're going to say you got to earn the chance to go up against Minotaur. You got to earn the chance to go up against Lockjaw and Bite Force and teams like that. But you're obviously well on your way with a convincing win in your debut fight. So you mentioned a ridiculous bot design. There's got to be some history there. Like, what inspired you to build a bot like Mammoth, and where did the name come from? Do they have anything to do with each other?
Well, certainly the name is kind of an easy story. Mammoth is a lovely name for a robot this size, simply because it not only is a gigantic robot, but it's an existing animal reference that people are going to understand. We've got our giant spinning trunk. We've got our giant eyeballs. You can start to actually put some form around that function and see where we're coming with the name. The original name for the robot was going to be Bigfoot, which was a evolution of the smaller robots I built, which all had shoe-themed names. The original robot I built, Baby Shoes, of a similar design, a little 12-pound one, that was named simply because it had baby shoes on the end of its weapon. You need weapon guards if you want to compete. So you strap on some tiny shoes onto those sharp ends, and it doesn't matter what you name it. People are going to call it Baby Shoes. I mean, when a robot shows up and starts flinging shoes around, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you name it.
Yeah.
As for the design, I'm realizing over time where some of my inspiration came from. When I was, a young Battlebots watcher of 11 or 12 or however old I was completely enamored with Nightmare and with Biohazard. I loved a lifter bot that could throw other robots off kilter, and I loved a giant, intimidating, overwhelming spinner robot. And you can see both of those things kind of manifesting in Mammoth now. But that wasn't top of my mind designing the robot. What was top of my mind was how do you mix with the expectations of all the other robots there? A few people have asked me if Huge was an inspiration for the design. I can say a little bit in that I took a page from their book wanting to design a robot that people did not know how to fight, and something that really mixed up the meta of Battlebots. So in that vein, it was inspired by Huge. The size and the spinner and everything else, that just kind of came part and parcel with trying to figure out how to turn other robots and their drivers on their heads.
So it was always going to be a big bot, basically, because you said it was either Mammoth or Bigfoot, and the name, obviously, you got from the design, but was it like, how did the, I guess, evolution of the design change from what Bigfoot would have been to what we now know as Mammoth?
Literally zero. That was just a name change at the last moment. The design change over time was really, as I built up from the smaller 12-pound robot to the 30-pound robot, till finally the 250 full-size heavyweight, I realized that as you scale these robots up, they don't obey the same kind of size and weight characteristics that most robots do. Because the frame is made out of hollow tube, and because we're essentially not armoring the robot at all, the mass doesn't scale up as quickly as it does with other types of designs. So you can show up with a robot that, when you scale it up, sorry, these hiccups are killing me. You can show up with a robot that grows in size much faster than other robots when you scale up the weight. Hopefully that answers that question.
It does, yeah. So when you guys are sitting in the room and you're about to make your maiden voyage to Battlebots to compete, was there any second guessing that you had as far as, is this the bot we want to go into this our first time with? Like, what ultimately solidified your decision that it was going to be Mammoth or nothing?
I can tell you exactly what cemented that decision. I had left the Orlando Maker Fair and with our prototype Mammoth, our first rendition, and that on its own was an amazing experience. We had such a strong reaction and such an amazing response from spectators and from the internet. But what really did it in was just a couple days later, I got a call from Battlebots saying, will this robot fit in the arena? And to my knowledge, Battlebots doesn't usually call you. That was November, I want to say, of last year. So even if I had wanted to come up with another robot design, the chances of me coming up with something and then testing it and making a convincing video or what have you for Battlebots were pretty much nil. So I don't think I need any more reason than Battlebots calling and saying, hey, we like your robot, you should come to California.
Fair enough. For you guys, as far as the team goes, what can we look forward to seeing for the rest of this season and Mammoth? Is there going to be very many tweaks? Like, are you guys a team that traveled with different variations of the primary weapon? Or is it pretty much what we saw is what we're going to get, and we're going to have some really good fights with Team Mammoth in the upcoming remainder of the season?
So Mammoth is going to really evolve to, keep from going extinct over the course of Battlebots this year.
Love the pun.
Yeah, thank you. We showed up with 3 full Mammoths to competition.
Wow.
We showed up with, 3 weapon variations, and we built an additional weapon variation while we were there. The internet may have already noticed that we showed up with some large UHMW front plows. We're hoping to use those against some of our opponents and mitigate, tank 1 or 2 hits from some spinners we might go against. And then we've got some surprises as well. So I'm not going to ruin the whole story, but suffice to say, you're going to see a lot of interesting tactics from Mammoth and a lot of evolution in the design.
So all in all, your first fight being a victorious one, you guys starting out the season 1-0, even if it was maybe against an opponent that wasn't top of your list, but to go out there, be in the battle box, to hit the activation button, and then come out with a victory that was about as flawless as a bot like yours can have its first go round. I mean, was there anything that could have been any better for you in your Battlebots debut?
Man, I don't know, short of having, the judges all come around and give me a big group hug and Bill and I show up and high five me and then going out for drinks with the Mythbusters or something like that. That went as well as it possibly could have gone. And I think I love the response of the internet right now saying that, that was amazing to watch, but we really want to see him go up against a true 100% functional competitor. That's an awesome response, right? I mean, we would love people to be sitting back and wondering, what is Mammoth going to do next, and how are they going to hold up? I've said this a few times in a few different interviews, but to me, the magic of Battlebots is watching a robot go against another robot and not having any idea what is going to happen.
Oh, yeah,
and
without a doubt.
The first fight for Mammoth cemented that uncertainty, if anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are going to argue until our next fight whether or not they think Mammoth can hold up against a robot that has a top tier weapon. And I think that's just a marvelous feeling to know that that's on fans' minds.
Yeah, the intrigue is in the unknown, and I think you guys have those in bucket loads right now as Team Mammoth gets its first victory of the season in its debut against, a friend of mine and a fan favorite, and Axe Backwards, and those guys are going to look to fix some issues and get at it again later on this season. But right now they are, as he said, a fan favorite, getting a very well-received, popular response from the internet. And it was a pleasure to meet you down there at the tapings, and I look forward to seeing how the remainder of the season plays out for you, Mr. Willems.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so he is the captain of Mammoth and the resident Mad Max of Battlebots. You guys will see why as the season progresses, but thank you so much for your time, and good luck in the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. We'll check back in later, maybe.
Sounds good. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
And one more big thank you to Ricky Willems of Team Mammoth for taking the time to be on the show this week. It was another great, productive episode as we continue to do these weekly specials right here on the Fan Show, your home for BattleBots coverage and some exclusive interviews with the cast, crew, and most importantly, the people themselves. That's right, the builders and the pit crews of BattleBots. So don't forget, all new episode 3 is Friday, and we will have next week another all new BattleBots special with another all new guest as we continue to roll along, entering and exiting the battle box. 2 bots enter, 1 bot leaves, but hopefully here with these interview segments, it's 1 captain enters and 1 captain leaves, very happy knowing that we had an awesome conversation and a very productive interview. So don't forget, we have our regularly scheduled episode of The Fan Show tomorrow, Thursday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Make sure that if you can, chime in at the beginning, which is broadcast live, the video portion on Facebook.com, as we do a Facebook Live for the opening segments, the headlines, and we take your questions, comments, maybe even answers or concerns if you have those as well. And then the remainder of the episode is exclusively on Spreaker.com, because that is where we will have the interview with our special guest for the evening. But at least that first part is fun, it's interactive. I encourage you all to join. But make sure that whatever it is that you like about the Fan Show, that you are subscribed any way that you can be, whatever your flavor is, we've got it available there for your listening pleasure. Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. And if you want to make sure you don't miss a beat of the latest news from the home of football and nonsense, then follow us on Twitter at FanShowOfficial, Instagram, The Fan Show, and give us a like, give us some love, give us a share on Facebook.com/FanShowOfficial. We have a YouTube channel where you can also enjoy these episodes and check out all of our latest video content, including the infamous Fan Show Top 10 Plays of the Week. But if you guys are strictly Battlebots fans and enthusiasts of combat robotics, then every Wednesday is your day as we get set for robot fighting time with an all-new guest from an all-new crew, or maybe a returning favorite from seasons past. We don't know. You'll just have to tune in and find out every Wednesday right here on The Fan Show. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. And remember, it's not official unless it's Fan Show official. Good night, folks!
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his one player's spot? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love The Fan Show.